Are we streaming? Testing, testing, the only way I know how. Alright, awesome. If you guys are joining later on after the live, we are discussing the paranormal tonight. And we are going to watch Unknown and Mysterious Creatures. I have never watched this. I have never seen this page. We're doing it for the first time together. So I'm very interested in what they got to say. Me personally, I have experienced a few paranormal things. I am specifically looking at shadow people right now because when I was a child, we had a shadow creature that was in the trailer I grew up in. It had red glowing eyes, and my sister's seen it as well. And the crazy thing is about it is, until I started talking to them about what I seen, I didn't know that they had seen it. They had actually caught it in a photograph, but this was back in like the 90s, might be later 80s. And they lost that picture from what I understand, so I never got to see it, but they told me from what I described, it was exactly what they seen. And it was a picture of this shadow creature behind a fire that they were having. So without further ado, let's get this video started.
Have you ever had the eerie sensation that someone was watching you, but when you turned around, no one was there? Or maybe not no one. Maybe something was.
Let me know if you
Welcome back to another edition of Unknown and Mysterious Creatures, where we explore the strange, the chilling, and the unexplained. I'm your host, JV Torres.
Shout out JV Torres and your channel, Unknown and Mysterious Creatures. Go check them out.
Today, we look into one of the most disturbing and widely reported paranormal phenomenon of the modern era, shadow people.
See, and that's what I saw, but I saw red glowing eyes, but you couldn't see the blackout pupils in between. The only thing I could really see was, like, it looked like there was no pupil. It was just red glowing eyes. And I'll tell the story when there's actually people here, but that story in particular always will stick with me. I've had a few other things happen. One of the times, actually two of the times, going back and visiting the property that I grew up on, that honestly is one of the most haunted places that I have ever experienced was there. There's another place that I lived in that was pretty haunted as well, but I didn't get any like shadow entities. I didn't get anything that made me feel absolutely creeped out. I would just like see things and hear things like kids running in the middle of the night, which is creepy, yes, but not as bad as what I saw in that other place.
Shadow people, also called shadow beings or shadow entities, are dark humanoid figures often seen out of the corner of the eye. They're featureless, silent, and they vanish the moment you try to look at them directly. But those who do manage to see more report something horrifying. But what exactly are shadow people? Shadow people have been reported for centuries, but the term gained mainstream traction after author Heidi Hollis popularized it in her book, The Secret War, a true story about a real alien war and shadow people.
See, this is something that also interests me about the shadow people in particular because it's been recorded for quite a long time all around the world. And when I seen what I seen in the house I grew up in, I had never heard of any of that. Are you kidding me? I was like a little kid running around in the woods. I mainly played in the woods or played my freaking Xbox or my PlayStation 1. I wasn't worried about cryptic tales, you know? I sure as hell got interested once I started seeing things.
2001. Hollis describes them as malevolent, interdimensional entities that feed on fear and sometimes attach themselves to individuals. Unlike traditional ghosts, shadow people are described as darker than darkness, often seen with no discernible facial features, except in rare cases where glowing red eyes are reported. They move fast, often vanish through walls, and always leave a.
Another thing I will note, I'm sorry I keep pausing it, is that the shadow creature I saw looked like it was wearing a black robe. You could see the shape of a hood, and it was kind of floating, and its head was just like inches before touching the ceiling. Just wanted to notate that. So red glowing eyes, completely blacked out shadow. You can't see them. Pretty much like you see there. There was no hat. It was a hood. Looked like they were wearing a robe, and they had red glowing eyes.
Feeling of dread in their wake. Let's start with one of the most chilling modern cases. A man named Doug from Kansas shared his story in the book True Ghost Stories, Real Haunted Houses and Scary Places by Zachary Knowles.
I was laying in bed when I woke up suddenly. I couldn't move, couldn't speak. Standing in the doorway was a tall black figure. No eyes, no face. Just a silhouette darker than the shadows around it. I blinked and it moved. It didn't walk, it glided, right to the edge of my bed.
Doug describes a moment of absolute terror. He eventually broke free.
You know what's crazy? I really wish I had people actually here watching me while I say this, but I wasn't asleep when I seen my shadow figure. I woke up. I was about, I'm going to say probably around 5 to 7 years old. I woke up fully, and I had been laying on the couch for a while because I slept in the living room. That's a whole nother story. But I don't know why I woke up, but I started watching what was on the TV, and it was Little House of Horrors, like the black and white one. And I was kind of sitting there watching it. I'd watched at least, 2 or 3 scenes, and the whole time I was watching it, I just felt, watched, and I was trying to ignore it. But the longer I went, the more intense the feeling was. So eventually I just broke down and just looked like, what the hell? Like, why do I keep feeling like something's watching me? And exactly how I described, there was a shadow creature just right there in the living room, there was no wall dividing it, or in the dining room, because we were in a trailer. You had your kitchen, you had your dining room, and then there's a living room, which they used to have a wall separating there, but my dad and some few rednecks tore down that wall. So it was just one big open space. So I'm laying here on the couch, and the couch is facing this way to the TV. My feet are over here, my head is over here, and this shadow creature is in here in the dining room, floating above the ground with his head almost touching the ceiling. And when I looked up at him, he was just staring straight at me. I could feel it. I could feel it in my soul. Like it looked deep within me, like through me. And I could feel it. Like it was not benevolent. It was malevolent, like it was saying. And like he described, it didn't walk. It didn't run. It just glided. It glided. What happens? I threw my blanket over my head and I peeked back over, and he was like this because he started gliding, put the blanket over my head. I didn't want to see. I was freaking out. I put it back over my head, and he's just leaning over. Like I described the couch. There's my feet. He was leaning over the couch like this, staring me straight in my face. He was like this. And his red eyes looking me right dead in my eyes. It scared me so fucking bad. I covered the blanket over my head. I held my knees to my chest. I started shaking and crying, and I don't know what happened after that. I don't know if I fell asleep or what. I don't know. I'm guessing I cried myself to sleep that night.
From what felt like sleep paralysis, and the figure vanished. Across cultures and continents, people have described a specific shadow person wearing a wide-brimmed hat and a long trench coat. He's been seen looming over beds, staring silently. Some believe he's a commander of the shadow beings.
I didn't see no hat.
Others think he's a demon. Or
see, I seen more like that shadow figure right here. Right there. It more looked like that. And it was thinner though. It was more like this one right here. That is what I witnessed, with red glowing eyes.
worse. One woman named Carla, featured in a Coast to Coast AM radio episode with Art Bell, recalled,
"He stood in the corner for hours. I couldn't sleep. I prayed, cried, and eventually screamed. And he just faded away, like mist. But I still see him. Every few months."
Mainstream science often links shadow people to sleep paralysis, a condition in which the brain wakes before the body, causing hallucinations.
And see, that makes sense. But what about with me when I was awake to see 2 to 3 full scenes from a movie before I finally looked over? Some still might say a child's imagination, but I don't know.
And temporary paralysis. Neurologist Dr. Baland Jalal from Cambridge University has studied the phenomenon extensively. He claims that seeing shadowy figures during sleep paralysis is the brain's way of trying to interpret sensory confusion while immobilized. But anyone who has experienced sleep paralysis can tell you the feeling is terrifying beyond description. And most of us have experienced vivid dreams that have images we see in our minds, but struggle to describe. But here's the question. Why are the visions so consistent across cultures? From ancient Middle Eastern tales of the jinn to African tribal myths and even modern Reddit threads, these beings are eerily similar. Can sleep paralysis alone explain this phenomenon? And what about those people that see these beings while they are wide awake?
Yes, exactly. Okay, came back.
There's another theory, that these are not just hallucinations or ghosts, but interdimensional entities. Author and paranormal researcher Rosemary Ellen Goulet, before her passing, suggested that shadow people are beings from a parallel dimension that occasionally bleed into our reality. She wrote in The Jinn Connection that
shadow people may actually be jinn in disguise, ancient beings who can cross dimensions and manipulate human perception.
this aligns with accounts where people claim their electronics flicker, radios hiss, or clocks stop when shadow people appear. So, what are shadow people? Paranormal watchers? Demons? Hallucinations? Or something else entirely? Something that watches from the periphery of our reality, just waiting for us to let our guard down?
I personally think, at least the one that I'd experienced, is attracted to negative energy. The house that I was growing up in, both of my parents had a lot of issues, had drug addiction issues. They were constantly fighting. My dad was constantly tearing things up, tearing through the house. He was doing other stuff that I don't want to mention. And yeah, there was plenty of negative energy in the house for it to feed off of, that's for sure.
Maybe tonight, in your room, they're watching you right now. If you've seen a shadow person or felt one near, you're not alone. Visit our website or share your story in the comments section of this episode.
The end of the video? Almost.
And remember, the next time you catch movement in the corner of your eye,
Isn't that pretty interesting?
don't be too quick to look away.
What's up, Brick Rebel?
Thank you for listening to Unknown and Mysterious Creatures.
Ain't nobody here, though.
Until next time, stay curious and stay in the light.
You know, I was talking about, which, by the way, Brick, be careful about doxing and stuff. I'm kind of paranoid about it. But the house that I grew up in, I was talking about how there were shadow creatures there, and we have never discussed that, but I didn't realize, I'm pretty sure my sisters probably talked to you about what they seen. I didn't even know that they had seen it too until later. But I did see a red, like they had red glowing eyes, shadow creature in that dining room in that trailer. But the thing about it, it had a black robe on. It didn't have the black hat like most people see. But that sticks with me. I was actually watching Little House of Horrors whenever that thing came to visit me. Well, nobody else was awake. That was fun. I want to tell the whole story better, but nobody's on. I've already told parts of it. I'm trying to honestly find more about that because I'm interested in what other people have seen. Let's see what other videos we can find. And I'm having growing pains with this system, so please. It's called OBS if you want to check it out. It's free. Let's see. 6 years old, but why not? Let's give this one a chance and see. It says it's different. It's broken. Stop playing right. Like I said, technical difficulties over here. I might be trying to learn. But you already gone brick. She's a brick house. Unless my YouTube's lying to me again, because it does that to you. I might have to restart or something, because it's not even wanting to do anything right now. There it goes.
They're some of the most mysterious entities in the known universe. What are the different types of shadow people?
That looks cheesy.
Welcome to Haunted Road Media. I'm author and ghostorian Mike Ricksecker. Explore with us. As we continue our Shadow Person series, exploring the secrets of the dark while unveiling.
Shout out Haunted Red Media, Mike, something Ecker at the back. Sorry, Mike.
A world feared by many, misunderstood by most. We're going to take a look at the different types of shadow people, which is the first part of my new book, A Walk in the Shadows.
That plug-in right there. I get it though.
The humanoid figure type of shadow person is probably the most common type of shadow person reported, and is the first one in which I'd had an interaction.
See, that's the thing that interests me too, is I've already said this earlier, but nobody was on. Before I even heard of shadow people, before I was even interested in reading a book, I had seen that thing. I was like between 5 and 7 years old, I want to say. I had no idea what a shadow person was. I had no idea about no paranormal stuff.
These types of entities are simply described as appearing in the shape of a person, generally a tall man, with no discernible features.
Yeah.
Everything about these entities is black. There are no eyes to see, no nose or mouth, nor even any clothing to view.
Except for I saw red eyes glowing.
Typically, the humanoid figure just stands and stares at you, perhaps from the corner of the room, or from the end of one's bed. So having a physical interaction with one is quite out of the norm. My very first shadow person encounter was with a humanoid figure, and those that have been following here for a while are probably really familiar with this story. But for those that are new, I'm going to recount the tale anyway, just really briefly. So, what happened was, I was about 8 or 9 years old. I woke up in the middle of the night, and in the corner of my room stood this shadow person. And it's depicted really well here by Adam D. Tillery.
I've seen little shadow people at the end of my hall that wait for me to come back, and the only other major experience is being held down by a hag 4 times. See, this is another thing that interests me about the shadow that I seen. I was awake long enough to watch 2 to 3 scenes of Little House of Horrors. And most scientists say the reason why we see them is because we're half asleep or in a sleep paralysis state. I was fully awake when I seen that thing. I had no prior knowledge of shadow people. I mean, I was just sitting there living my little kid life. And I think that they are attracted to negativity. You know how I grew up, so I don't have to go through that again. But I really do believe it was sucking off the negative energy that was in there. And you're talking about being sit on by a hag. I have been lucky not to be sit on by a hag. But there was one time I came home from school. I was in high school. And I was really sleepy that day, so I decided I was going to lay down. I had sleep paralysis, which when I was in high school, I had sleep paralysis almost every night. Like, I don't know what was going on, but it was awful. Hold on one second.
The illustrator for A Walk in the Shadows and many other Haunted Road media books. Now, I didn't know this was a shadow person at first. I had, being 8 or 9 years.
Sorry. So, what was I saying? What was I talking about? Oh yeah, sleep paralysis. Okay, so I try to go to sleep. I did go to sleep. I wound up getting sleep paralysis. But almost immediately, I was like thrown into this place. It was like a void. It was nothing but black. It felt heavy. And the only thing I could hear was like thousands of men, women, and children screaming in agony. Terror and agony. And it kept getting louder and louder. And I just remember going, oh God, please stop. And as soon as I said the word God in my mind, this demonic voice came over and it was like, say Satan, say Satan. And it kept saying it, and the screams were getting louder. And I refused. I wouldn't. And eventually it just like let me go. And as soon as it let me go, I woke up and I was sweating and I was like, what the fuck was that? And I could still feel something in my room. Even at that time, I didn't even pray that much, even though like there was influences around me. I started praying. And it stuck around in my room for a good like month. And every day I would come home, I would feel that weight in my room, and I would, this sounds kind of creepy, but I would talk to it, not in a friendly way, but like, hey, you being here and you trying to get my attention or whatever you're trying to do is not going to work. I have no interest in helping you. You can, like, this is going to sound crazy, like, you can stay here because I can't make you leave, but you're not going to get anything from me, so you're wasting your time. And I told it that like every day until one day I came home. It was just gone. But I've seen shadows more than anything else. It's just like shadow people passing by and stuff like that. I don't see it as often, but I definitely still see it. I think the most recent thing I had seen is like the shadow figure that kept hanging out by a gas station. It was near Augusta. That's like the last thing I saw. I don't know if he died there or what. But I feel like he's attached to that gas station. Exactly, I was just chilling watching TV and bam. Grabbed me by the throat and held me to the chair. Yeah. See, that's another thing too. People think you're probably under the influence or something like that. Nope, you don't gotta be. Shoot, when I was a kid, I was under the influence of nothing. Not a dang thing. And I still seen it. But it still blows my mind that there's accounts all over the world, different time periods. Before I'd even had an inkling of what the heck it was, I seen one. And I don't know. I think we should study more into it. Most of it gets dismissed as though they must be on drugs, they were half asleep, or they were just kids. That's what it usually gets dismissed as, or they're crazy.
Years old, that's not what I was thinking. Had no idea what a shadow person was. I'm thinking there's an intruder in my room and it's going to kill me. Then it did the strangest thing. It came up to my bed, leaned over, crossed my arms across my body, and then ran off down the hall and into a closet. At that point, I ran off to my parents' bedroom and they tried to console me, tell me it was just a dream, but I was awake the whole time, and this thing really did touch me. And that was just the first of many.
I think I would have had a heart attack if that thing touched me that night, because I was so scared. Like, it leaned over. I was sleeping on the couch. It leaned over and it's face to face with me. Its red glowing eyes staring through my damn soul. And I just threw that blanket over me and hugged my fucking knees and cried. And I don't know what happened after that. I had to have fallen asleep holding myself. I don't freaking remember, but it scared the crap out of me. Next major experience, had a buddy living with me, and he was sleeping on the couch in the same room, and she grabbed me, and I remember trying to yell at him, but she did not let me. He even said I talked in my sleep. See, I wonder if things attach to you too. Like, but if things attach to you, what what draws them into certain people and not other people? Why are some of us more attractive to these things than others? Does it have something to do with being brought up in a traumatic household, I think? Because most of the people, not all the people, but most of the people that see stuff like this, they have been through traumatic things. But then they'll discuss that and they'll dismiss it and be like, well, it's probably your trauma. It's your brain's way of coping with things. Well, that's a funny way of coping with reality.
Shadow people interactions I've had.
See, the Hat Man. I have never seen the Hat Man, but a friend of mine that I went to school with, she also grew up in an abusive household. And she said that one time when she was sleeping, one of those things was watching her in her sleep. She had even seen it. She was here to tell you better. But she had even seen it one time by her window, and it was just staring at her, smiling. And then it flew out the window. And then she said years later, after she moved out to a whole different place, she's seen it at school. She's seen it in her science class. She was in her desk. She kept feeling something looking at her, so she looks out the window, and it's sitting in a tree, like kind of like with his legs up, and he's like hunched over like this, and he just turned his head and smiled at her and then disappeared. Yeah, I do. I'm trying to stop saying sorry for everything. I've gotten better. But I mean, it has to be trauma related, right? And I don't believe it's something to do with your brain coping, because why would your brain cope with trauma by giving you more traumatic scenes that terrify you? That just does not make sense. I mean, they look at studies of what we do to cope. We forget things and then we like black it out and it'll come back later. We'll like misremember things and like remember it better than what it was. I have never heard of coping by seeing shadow people. Like, I think that's so ridiculous, but they'll say that. They'll say that was your brain's a funny way of your brain coping. I don't believe it. It don't make sense. Like, our minds are pretty freaking powerful. If it was something that your brain is creating shadow creatures and stuff, I think you would see other problems. You know what I mean? I don't think that has anything to do with it. Like, that can't be just coping. And there's some people that see things and they haven't even been through any traumatic experience as well. So I think that disproves it.
The Hat Man is probably the most feared type of shadow person out of all the varying kinds of these types of supernatural entities.
Seen the hooded
It is
shadow
essentially a type of humanoid figure shadow person who also wears a hat, usually a fedora or sometimes a top hat. Many times, the Hat Man's entire appearance will seemingly take on a particular type of style. For instance, the shadow person wearing the fedora will often don a trench coat, while those seen wearing a top hat may also be wearing a cape. What a lot of people report with the Hat Man is the sense of fear and dread that the Hat Man is meant to terrorize people. Sometimes he's also flanked by other shadow people, usually humanoid figures. What we've come to theorize about the Hat Man is that it is a type of emotional vampire. So it comes into the room, strikes fear into its victim, and then feeds off that fear, providing it more energy. I've heard a recent account this past summer that's, of course, now included in the book, about a set of sisters where the Hat Man would come into the room and stand at the foot of the bed of the one sister. All the sisters could see this going on, but would always come up to the foot of the bed of the one. Of course, they were all terrified.
You can lurk all you want.
Now, a common question is, do these things attach themselves to you and move on to other locations? With this particular one,
welcome in, just in case you couldn't hear me. Thank you, JMO. Lurk all you want. I need the support. Shoot, we might be able to game. I was looking on your channel, Chris, and I saw Arc Raiders. I've never played that, but it looked really freaking fun. I don't know when I'll be able to get it, but I would love to play that. If you look on my channel, I just started posting some Warframe stuff, but I like shooting games. I think I would enjoy that.
When they moved out of that house, this particular Hat Man did not follow them along. So it seems that particular Hat Man was maybe assigned to that house, or maybe it was its home, and whoever happened to be living there, it would go and...
See, do you believe shadow entities are assigned houses? I don't think that. I think that they are attracted to where there's pain, there's sorrow. I don't think it's necessarily tied to a place unless a particular trauma happened to the entity there, maybe. I don't think it just is haunting one random spot. It's like, hey, this is my block. Only I can haunt the people over here. This sounds ridiculous. I don't know if I'm thinking too much about it.
Feed off of those people. Why it singled out the one girl, we don't know.
It is funny to think about shadow entities having turf wars, though. That's pretty freaking funny.
Most commonly, shadow people are seen without eyes. Usually they are completely devoid of features. No eyes, no nose, no mouth, nothing. Everything is black. However, on occasion, some shadow people do present eyes, which are quite striking to witness since the color is heavily contrasted against the sheer blackness of the rest of the entity. The most notorious of the colored-eyed shadow people are the ones with red eyes. These are generally
I do believe too. I believe that as well. You don't even have to necessarily have something attached to you because of negativity. You could be a drug user or something like that. I honestly believe that shadow thing was attached to my father, to be honest. He told me he used to dream about Satan reaching up from underneath the ground and grabbing him and pulling him under. So I really think that thing was attached to him. And we were just, by proxy, also affected by it.
Considered more nefarious in nature, devious entities who strike fear into the victims they oppress, much like the Hat Man. Now, I've never personally seen the entity with red eyes, but when we filmed the episode for The Haunted, the Monster in the Closet episode, that was in regards to an entity with red eyes that the adult daughter, Taliesin, had been seeing. We investigated there several times, about a half dozen times, several follow-ups. We brought Carl Johnson and demonologists to help cleanse that house. And she was truly experiencing something terrible. When we did the cleansing night, if those of you that remember the episode, when Taliesin came into the house, she was supposed to stay outside, she was talking at something against the wall, and Carl ended up doing a blessing over her. At that point in time, she doubled over like she got punched in the gut and fell to the floor. I caught an EVP at that moment that said, "Die." We ended up attributing this to that entity that she had been seeing with red eyes, even though we didn't actually see the red eyes at that time, but it was basically the target of our cleansing, which we did end up getting out of that house.
Can he come cleanse the house I grew up in? Shoot. Thank you. He's a little shit, but he's adorable.
The hooded figure is another type of shadow person that is usually...
Oh, see more. I told you he's a little shit. Look at him. Look what he just did. I am trying to watch a video, and you're messing it up with your doggy paws. Stop clicking stuff.
Imagine being able to build an app with your name on it, just by thinking about it. Meet Base 44.
They're some of the most mysterious entities in the known universe. What are the different types of shadow people? Feeds off that fear, providing it more energy. I've heard a recent account this past summer that's, of course, now included in the book,
Okay, I remember this
about a set of sisters where the Hat Man would come into the room and stand at the foot of the bed of the one sister. All the sisters could see this going
right
on.
about there. I remember seeing that. Okay, yep, red-eyed entities. Sorry, guys. Sorry.
Most commonly, shadow people are seen without eyes. Usually they are completely devoid of features. No eyes, no nose, no mouth, nothing. Everything is black. However, on occasion, some shadow people do present eyes, which are quite striking to witness since the color is heavily contrasted against the sheer blackness of the rest of the entity. The most notorious of the colored-eyed shadow people are the ones with red eyes. These are generally considered more nefarious in nature, devious entities who strike fear into the victims they oppress.
Hello, Bianca. I know some relatives who stated when they died, the people that hated them cry, then the relative would come back when dead and smack the stuffing out of the crying. Is that what I'm reading? One who hated them. Am I understanding that these spirits came back and smacked the crap out of somebody? Because I don't know if I like that, man. But welcome in, Bianca. I said your name wrong. I'm sorry. Oh,
much like the Hat Man. Now, I've never personally seen the entity with red eyes, but when we filmed the episode for The Haunted, the Monster in the Closet episode, That was in regards to an entity with red eyes that the adult daughter, Taliesin, had been seeing. We investigated there several times, about a half dozen times, several follow-ups. We brought Carl Johnson in, demonologist, to help cleanse that house. And she was truly experiencing something terrible. When we did the cleansing night, if those of you that remember the episode, when Taliesin came into the house, she was supposed to stay outside. She was talking at something against the wall, and Carl ended up doing a blessing over her. At that point in time, she doubled over like she got punched in the gut and fell to the floor. I caught an EVP at that moment that said, "Die." We ended up attributing this to that entity that she had been seeing with red eyes, even though we didn't actually see the red eyes at that time, but it was basically the target of our cleansing, which we did end up getting out of that house.
See the hooded figure. That's what I saw. It was hooded, it was completely dark, but it had the red glowing eyes.
The hooded figure is another type of shadow person that is usually considered menacing in nature, though not as menacing as the Hat Man. Yet there are a surprising number of
It was just as menacing to me, bullshit.
Reports in which the hooded figure has acted more benevolent in nature. Perhaps the reason so many people believe this shadow person to be evil
I wish it was benevolent for me.
and nefarious is because they relate the hood with the Grim Reaper. The Grim Reaper, if it truly exists, is not a shadow person, but a different entity entirely that is a representation of death and is not really evil at all. When the Grim Reaper comes calling, it is just doing its job to collect souls when one's time on Earth has expired, serving as a psychopomp, a guide who helps souls find their way to the next realm. So the reason why I say it's a bit of a mix with hooded figures is because I've heard.
So you're trying to tell me that shadow figure was trying to, help me go home? Is that what you're trying to tell me, sir? Well, here is a place to share them if you want to, Bianca, for real, because honestly, I've seen things since I was a little girl. So you're definitely going to be judged here. And as you can see in the comment section, we are not the only ones. We are not.
Varying stories with these type of entities. I've heard of hooded.
Y'all, please remember to close the chat and hit that like button, please. I'm trying to grow my channel, y'all. That would definitely help me.
Figures appearing at the end of the bed and lifting people up by their ankles and levitating them off the bed. Of course, frightening the person absolutely to death. But on the other hand, I've heard of hooded figures that have, as somebody is falling down the stairs, reach out and help that person stop from falling down the stairs, or even serving as almost a type of guardian angel type.
I'm sorry, that does not give me safe, protected vibes. Okay, look at that kid's face. Do you see that poor kid's face? Does that kid look happy about whatever's going on here? What?
Somebody that was looking over a child, and then when it came up to a doctor's appointment, the doctor kind of turned his head, and the spirit that was giving him a hint as to what the real diagnosis was. Very differing stories here as to what may be going on with these hooded figures, and they may be serving different purposes depending on which hooded figure it happens to be.
Hey, what's the other hooded figures? What about the ones with red glowing eyes?
What I call the Black Wisp could probably account for most of the shadow people I've ever seen. These are entities that are tall, narrow, very translucent, and very fast. They almost look as if someone hit the fast forward.
This just gave me a memory. It's not, the wisp thing that I saw was not humanoid. It wasn't long like that, but that first image I saw, like one time I woke up, this is also when I was in high school. Oh, hi Momo, we got another visitor. So I woke up in the middle of the night, and if I remember right, I think I started reading to you, but I'm not 100% sure on that part. What I am sure about is that I had felt something above me. I look up above me, and in the corner of my room is this kind of like black cloud, and it kind of reminds me of, like, I guess like black spores or something. I don't know how to explain it. There was this book, I don't know if y'all know this book. I read it when I was in school. It was an older book, and it was talking about nanotechnology, and it had like black particles going around. That's how I imagine it would look like in that book, that nanotech that took over. But it was in the corner of my room, and it was like a cloud, and it kind of would come out and in like this. And then when I looked at it, it started shrinking, and then it went up into the corner of my wall and disappeared. That's the only time I've ever seen anything like that, but that just reminded me of it. I'm sorry I keep stopping the video, but I've seen a few things.
Button on someone wearing dark clothing, and the image moved so fast you could barely see it. However, it was there. The first time I ever saw one of these wisps, I was 13 years old. We had just moved from the house in Massachusetts to a new house in Ohio, and I was unpacking boxes, just taking things out, putting them away, and I kept seeing out of the corner of my eye something in the doorway of my bedroom. I'd turn and look, and it would dart away. And I kept seeing this over and over again. After this happening for several days, I ended up asking my mother if she was seeing the same thing. Now, perhaps it was because I was a little bit older at that time that she decided to go ahead and divulge to me that, yes, she had actually seen the same thing. So that made me feel pretty good. You know, I felt affirmed there. So I started calling this thing Tom, as in Peeping Tom. And so anytime it would come around my doorway,
I'm sorry. I don't recommend naming the things, but that's pretty funny. Peeping Tom.
again, I'd say, "Hi, Tom," and it would take off and run away. Well, this activity only lasted for a few months, and suddenly Tom was gone. He didn't come around anymore. So I ended up chalking it up to something that was there at the house, checked us out as a family, deemed we were okay, and then just went about its business, whatever that may have been. Another significant time that I've seen this wisp was during a paranormal investigation at Johnny V's in Muskogee, Oklahoma. And this was really at the end of the investigation. The others in the group, a couple of them were up in the bar area, and then a couple of them were out in the restaurant. I was walking into the kitchen doing a last photo sweep. As I walked in, I saw this black wisp just dart right across the room. And
right, Brick, what the hell? What the hell? Uh-oh, I better plug in my laptop. And Bianca, I do believe so. It depends. Like, I don't think all entities are necessarily human at one time. I don't think all of them are.
it slammed into this flimsy metal door that heads out into the dining room. And I use this example when I talk about shadow people being interdimensional beings. I'm not going to get into all of that in this particular video, but this is really the crux of my shadow people being interdimensional beings argument, because of the fact that you heard the slam of the door, the others heard the slam of the door, but the door didn't move at all. So it was like on its plane of existence, maybe the door moved, and on ours it didn't, and the sound of it resonated between both. And
you know, that's a very interesting thought. I had a friend of mine that she's more like family than friend. She, in that one house I mentioned earlier that I lived in, that I heard like kids running around in, she said that she went to her bedroom and she saw this lady in like a long prairie type dress, and that she was picking, like she was bending down picking up flowers, and looked like she was gathering up flowers, as if that there used to be a field of flowers there before the house was built. And she told me that she thinks things like that are echoes in time, and something just struck so true about that. I think some things are not paranormal. I think it is legit an echo in time. I don't know why things line up where we can see it, experience it, hear it, but I do believe sometimes that happens. Sometimes things get crossed for some reason. See, I know what you're talking about. And see, Brick, I've even mentioned that to other people, including our family, about how how people talk about her with that, but I had seen that red eye thing. I had seen that myself, so I don't think she was tripping with that, but I always thought to myself I didn't want to tell her because I don't know if she's struggling with things, you know what I mean? And how you were saying, I just figured it was something to do with that, you know? But no, there was or is something there, because I went there 2 more times to that property I grew up on, and both times I went there, the first time I went back, me and another family friend of mine, is more family than friend, took me, and I was trying to gather up some stuff from my childhood, and it was a clear sunny day, and we kept feeling creeped out. She was like, girl, we gotta leave soon. I love you, but we gotta leave soon, because the houses always give weird, just weird energy. And so I gathered up some things and I went to the back of the property because there was a shed there that's fallen apart that used to have some really old, like, beakers and stuff like that, that was from my mom's dad. And I was going to see if I could find anything in there that wasn't already destroyed or stolen to try to give to her. As soon as we go to the backyard, all of a sudden fog comes up and it starts blowing like hard rain on us. We both looked at each other and we're like, yeah, let's get the fuck out of here. We left. As soon as we went around that corner to the front yard, it was clear, sunny skies again. I'm getting chills. I'm getting chills talking about this. I don't know if y'all can see that. But, and the second time, oh, there's 3 times. There was 3 times, guys. I forgot. The second time I went there, I went with my partner. And some of y'all that's already been in here for a minute, my dad, he did a lot of bad stuff. I feel like he was the reason why there was something there in the first place. But me and him went to my dad's room, and I was trying to see if there was any other old photos there, because there was some photos there before. When I get in that bedroom, suddenly we start hearing, and it's coming down from the front of the trailer, and it's going down the wall, all the way down to the bedroom. And it didn't stop until I took a step to the door, and then it was just fucking silence. I'm getting chill bumps again. And I think that was my dad trying to let me know he was there. And that's a whole nother thing. The last time we went there is I had this guy that thought he was going to be a paranormal investigator, and he wanted to go there really bad. And he kept trying to basically interrogate and instigate something with the spirit. It never worked. We heard voices at one point. We kept feeling something around us, and we kept hearing leaves rustling around us, and it was pitch black, and it got to the point where we were like, we just got to get out of here. Our batteries are dying. And I was getting pissed off, to be honest, because I took him there to investigate, not to go try to rile things up on the property, you know? So we got off the property after he showed his ass. Let's see. See, you know, and that's such a thing. Is she yelling at stuff because she's seeing things, or because she's dealing with things, or is it a mix of both? And that's what I believe too. It's like it's a fracture in time, and it may be a ripple effect. That's a good way to put it. But something happens there where sometimes we can hear, see, feel things that are already been. But I know that echo in time, that catchphrase or whatever you want to call it, will always stick with me, because I really feel like that's what she was witnessing. I'm a youngin', I'm a mama, and I think my youngins are fighting. Give me a second, guys.
I just kind of went down that rabbit hole a little bit anyway. This is really just the tip of the iceberg, and all of these entities are covered extensively in my new book, A Walk in the Shadows, as well as other Shadow People videos on this channel. I've linked the book in the description below, and if you'd like to see other videos on this channel about Shadow People, please go ahead and check out some of the other videos off to the side. I'm Mike Ricksecker. Until next time.
But that was it. See, I've been running my mouth this whole time. We could have been done with
Miserable.
Oh no. Why is it trying to show a court case? Are y'all still here? Oh my gosh, is it working? I might have to restart. Okay, it's coming back. Okay, we good, we good, we good. And I don't know why I threw on a freaking court case. Look at the shadow creatures with red eyes, y'all.
Apparently you can go from 0 to a complete site in just a single...
I think my laptop had a seizure. I don't know what just happened. It doesn't say it's recording anymore, but it is. Can y'all still see me? Yeah. I have 6 people in now. Free advertisements. Pay me for my advertisements that are on other people's channels.
Here's how it happens. You're drifting off to sleep, or
I actually love this channel, y'all. If y'all haven't checked out this channel, check it out.
maybe you wake up in the middle of the night. You feel a presence in the room. You see something out of the corner of your eye. You try to look, but you can't move. You try to call out, but you're unable to make a sound. There's an invisible weight on your chest. Even breathing is difficult. You strain to look, and then you see it. The shadow of a person. You can't detect any features, but every instinct you have tells you this entity is not friendly. You hear a light hum, maybe a rush of air, and the dark entity vanishes. You've just encountered a shadow person. Now this one was pretty benign, but there are some shadow people sightings that are more intense, more real. These encounters can be traumatic and in some cases, violent. I should know because it happened to me. Every culture has their own paranormal legends. Asian cultures, European, American, and so on. Some myths exist in cultural subsets like religions and individual countries. Even small towns and neighborhoods have their own legends. People raised in Michigan might not know what a chupacabra is, but they've heard of the Dogman. Americans might laugh at the story of Krampus, the evil version of Santa Claus who is half goat, half demon and punishes children, but mention him to kids in Germany or Austria, and they won't find it funny. Visitors to Ronkonkoma, New York enjoy swimming in the clear lake in the middle of town, but locals don't go in the water out of fear of Tuscawanta, the Algonquin princess who drowns one young man every year in search of true love.
Or the crab cat.
The what?
The crab cat. All goldfish are afraid of him. He's half crab, half cat, who works in a sushi bar in the underworld.
They have sushi in the underworld?
Before the crab cat appears, you hear him sharpening his blade, and the room will smell like sake. If the crab cat catches you, he meows, "Omakase!" Then he cuts off one of your fins, and you spend all of eternity swimming in circles.
Circles? Oh, because he cuts off one fin.
Fear the crab cat! Fear the crab cat.
Whether a chupacabra, evil Santa Claus, or a crab cat, these stories couldn't be any more different. But one legend is universal. Shadow people. Shadow people are seen in every culture on Earth, and shadow people encounters have been happening for thousands of years. And of all the thousands or maybe millions of shadow people encounters over the years, the descriptions are eerily similar. Most often, they appear as nothing more than silhouettes. They lack defining characteristics. You can feel that there are facial features there, but you can't see them. The majority of shadow people sightings happen when you're in bed at night, though they have been seen outside, especially in dark wooded areas. But a few shadow people have been seen in broad daylight. It's not uncommon to hear a humming or a buzzing or a whooshing sound when a shadow person is present. And some